Alright, so we're going to go and start in Chapter 8, kind of discussing the different document types in QuoteWerks. So if you're following along in the help file, it's going to be Chapter 8. The first thing we're going to talk about are going to be the document types. So there's three main document types in QuoteWorks. You have your quotes, your orders, and your invoices. So every time you open a document in QuoteWorks, excuse me. Every time you open a document in QuoteWorks, you'll see the document is actually specified by the document type that will appear on the actual document itself. So when you convert a quote to an order, this will actually change the order. If it's an invoice, it'll change the invoice. So if you haven't saved the document yet and you're not sure what type of document you're working on, you can always check here. When your document is saved, it will tell you the document number, or in the document number, it will tell you that document designator. So if I save this document here, the document number is going to be the FLAQ1419, and that letter Q is what we call the document designator. That tells you that it's a quote. So if it's a quote, it's a Q. If it's an order, it's an O, and if it's an invoice, it'll be an I. So pretty straightforward there. The document statuses we've talked about. The default statuses will already be set for you, but you can change them manually here on the Sale Info tab by clicking on the ellipsis button. So if you have different statuses that you've set up, or if you want to set up different statuses, this is where you can make those adjustments. If you're changing them on every document, you probably just change your default settings instead of just manually changing it here each time. So for quotes, you have the option to save it as a PDF or deliver it that we kind of talked about earlier. If you are going to save it as a PDF, you can save it into a different location, and you can also attach it to the links tab. So we actually talked about that up front earlier, saying, if you need to give your customer multiple options or you're giving them multiple documents, this is an easy way to be able to send the customer multiple quotes via the PDF, is by saving it out as a PDF file, and then you can either attach it to the links tab or just save it somewhere like on your desktop where it's easily accessible for you to send out via email. We've talked about converting quotes to orders. We haven't talked about converting them to invoices. This is probably a lesser feature a lot of you won't use, because you're not going to do invoicing out of QuoteWorks. We're not an accounting package, so you can't actually do true invoicing anyway. But if you need to send a document from QuoteWorks that says invoice, we can do that. As you can see here under the file menu, the option is going to be there to convert to invoice and also convert to lost sale. This is extremely useful if you want to keep track of opportunities you lose, or just want to close them out in QuoteWorks saying, hey, the customer's not moving forward with this. You can convert to lost sale, and that will change the status to lost in QuoteWorks, and it'll update it in your dashboard as well, which we're going to get to here in a few minutes.
Can that be the default setting after so many days?
Unfortunately not. You might be able to have like custom development that could write an app or something that could do that, but it'd have to be on like the database side. Up at the top, you'll see there's a few options in the file menu for quotes. One of them that's going to be extremely useful is going to be the file duplicate. This is how we create a copy, an exact copy of your document in QuoteWorks. So if you've created a quote to a customer and you want to make an exact copy of it, you can click on File Duplicate, and this will duplicate the document as is with everything. It'll have the same company, same contact information, everything. So I hit OK. It just makes an exact copy of that document. So it's an easy way to just kind of use the same document over and over again, or if you just need to make changes, sell to another customer, you can do that.
I have a question about the invoice. So right now, when we do make an invoice on here, the invoice number on here is different than the invoice number we get in QuickBooks because they aren't. Is that something that'll be fixed if they're integrated, or would I need to change that in the tools accounting?
If they're not the same, then what that means is that when you're exporting to QuickBooks, you have it set to use probably the QuickBooks numbering sequence.
Okay.
We can either use the QuoteWorks number, or you can use the QuickBooks number.
So when I integrate that,
it'll ask
you.
It'll say which one do you want to use.
So then they'll be the same. Thank you.
So the file duplicate, that's a great way to make copies of your quote. There's also a file insert document. Maybe you started a quote for someone else and you want to insert that document into another, kind of basically combine them. You can use the file insert document to do that. Any questions about any of that stuff?
So when you say insert document, can you elaborate just a bit?
Sure. So let's say I wanted to take this quote and insert it into another quote that I'd already created.
Okay.
I can do file, insert document, and then I can basically do a search for it.
Okay.
So maybe I'll say,
Is that where you're just combining line items? in one
Exactly.
quote? Okay.
and then that one only had one line item, but it just added that line item into the stock.
Okay, so it only works within QuoteWerks is what you're saying. You can insert it into another. Okay, I thought maybe it inserted it into like some communication you had started or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just going to be inserting line items into a
Okay.
new document.
And it would insert everything from that?
Yes. Alright, so we've talked about orders. One thing we haven't talked about too much is sending purchase orders through QuoteWerks. We're going to do a whole section on purchasing, but if you need to send out a purchase order document from QuoteWorks, we do have a layout that comes with the software by default, and it's just going to be this purchase order layout here that you see under the deliver window. This layout has been specifically designed for creating purchase orders, and you'll see there's a checkbox that appears when you select it, and it says create PO for each vendor. What that'll do is that if you have a quote or an order that you're ready to send out to your vendors, and you have multiple vendors, it'll actually split it out for you for each vendor when this checkbox is checked. Now there's a couple things that you'll want to make sure you have set first before you start using this. The first thing is you need to actually set up your vendors in QuoteWorks. So to set up your vendors, you're actually going to click on the Utilities menu, and then Vendor Maintenance. And this is going to show you a list of vendors that you've set up in QuoteWorks. Now if your vendor doesn't show up here, so for instance, I don't have a training DB2 vendor. So when I go to create a purchase order, QuoteWorks is going to tell me, hey, we can't find that vendor, we're just going to leave the contact information blank. It'll still create the document for you, but you won't have the information. So you'll want to set up your vendors first. You can even import a vendor list, so if you can get them in like Excel or something like that, you can actually import them into QuoteWorks. So when you create a new one, we'll just create one for a training vendor.
How do you import them? Can you walk us through that?
Yes, let me see if I have a list. So you'll have to have them in a text file. I don't think I have one.
Oh, I see.
So you don't have a template that you
How
have?
do you get to that? How do you get to that box?
Right.
There's utilities right here. Utilities and that.
So I'm just going to use this file just so. But basically, you'll have your vendors mapped, very similar to the way you did it with your items,
Oh, well,
where it'll have
adding
different
vendor, how do you
mappings,
get
and
to
you
where
just
you're
map them.
doing
You match them with your fields on your Excel sheet.
How did you get to there again?
Just when you click on import, it'll start the vendor import with your.
Everybody wants to know how you got to the first screen.
The vendors.
Oh,
Yeah.
to
No, not the
vendors.
vendors before that.
Under utilities,
For the POs.
vendor maintenance.
Before that, for the POs.
Oh, the PO is just under the deliver menu. Click deliver. If you don't see it, just check the box that says display all layout types,
Oh, okay.
and then you'll see one that says purchase order standard.
And it takes CSV as well as Excel or only CSV?
Only CSV. So once you've set up your vendors, you can edit them, and then you can make any changes if you need to, but you can see these are all the fields available. So you can put in the sales rep, the address, city, state, country, phone, all this information.
Every vendor has to, you have to enter in all that information?
You don't have to. You don't have to technically enter any of it. It's just if you want QuoteWorks to populate the contact information on the layout, then you want to put this information in there. So if you buy from a couple of vendors, you can probably just set them up, and then any of the kind of one-off vendors probably won't worry too much about it.
What happens if you, like we do, we generate the purchase order in our accounting system? Is there any way for when that export happens and the number gets issued, that that number comes back to QuoteWerks, so at least like our salespeople know that a PO was issued? Because a lot of times what our problem is, we get asked the question to issue the PO 10 times when it was already done
Right.
the first time.
Yeah, there's actually a PO number field on your document. If we go back to our customized columns, it's kind of down there, but there's actually a PO number field.
Where is that?
If you go to view customized columns,
Yeah. Wait. Oh, yeah.
and I just moved it here so you can see it. When we create a purchase order in QuoteWerks, we'll actually populate the purchase order number here. You can
Oh, it says
also,
PO number, yes.
yeah, you can also manually enter that, so if your vendor gives you a PO number, you can put that in here as well.
But that PO number,
It's not integrated with your accounting though.
yeah,
Like
that's the
they're
one I
not
want.
synced.
Yeah.
Right, so
We have
that's
the
not
same
one.
problem. We have to go through the accounting, so creating the PO here doesn't
Right, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
doesn't buy us anything.
Yeah, so it doesn't do it.
Isn't it also on the sale menu, on the sale info? Is it the same field that's right there?
That's the
That's the
customer
customer.
Oh,
PO.
so this is your RPO.
I want
Yeah,
to
this would be like internal PO number, the sale info, this
That's
would be
the
the
customer's
customer's PO number. If they wanted you to like reference that or something.
Right.
So once you
No,
have
no,
your
we're
vendor
doing
set up
exactly
here,
that. We're doing
when
exactly
we
that.
click on deliver,
How do you do it again?
when we preview, it's gonna show you the different vendors, and it'll show you how many items per vendor in QuoteWerks. And then you'll see here, this is purchasing from this database, and then if I had set them up, it would fill in contact information.
How did you go to that, get to that screen, to be able to see what?
It's because I have none of these set up as vendors.
Yeah, no, the way we initially.
How many products? You go to deliver?
Yep, go to deliver, and then if you don't see the purchase order layout, choose display all layout
Reports
types.
too.
Okay.
And then you should see a layout that says purchase order,
Okay.
and then there's a checkbox when you highlight it to the right that says
Right.
create PO for each vendor.
Right, but a moment ago you showed us how many products were
You just hit preview.
preview.
Yeah, preview and it'll show you how many products are each vendor. Right.
That's cool.
And for us to work
But it still
backwards
doesn't
now.
So when you, then when you were to send it, it just automatically doesn't do it one at a time. Obviously, you have to fill it.
Yeah, because what'll happen is, so if I say, let's do,
It'd be cool, you know, you create a sales order.
it'll open up this purchase order document, and then I can choose email.
Video
Right.
attached,
And then if I had an email address for my sales rep, it would
It'd
already
be
be
in
populated
there,
in
right?
here.
Right,
So then that would let me send it
Well,
out.
that's what they're doing.
And I don't have email set up in here, so you can't send
then the
it.
next would come up for you.
Exactly. You'll close it, and then it'll open up this one.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they automatically kept coming, you know?
Yeah, they do.
There was
You
nothing
can-
more
Or
to
if you
do.
could create the POs here.
Nice.
Do that one button.
Yeah, obviously, if you're using QuickBooks or Sage 50 for your accounting or even Great Plains, you're probably not going to use this. This is kind of more if you just need to send out a purchase order document through QuoteWorks. You can use it for this. If you need an official purchase order through your accounting, where you're going to be tracking everything, it's probably not going to use that feature. But there's there is some use for it for sending out like that. And it might be useful if you're sending it out for other things. You can customize these layouts for let's say a purchase order, maybe it's a sales order, maybe it's an invoice for your customers or something like that. So there's different options for it.
So this is still tied into this topic a little bit. Can you take a PO document that was created in QuoteWorks and export that into, say, QuickBooks
You can,
as a PO?
yes.
So you could do them individually, I guess.
Yeah, that's
We
a
do that
fairly
now.
new feature
We
is
export it out.
exporting to QuickBooks as a PO. And we'll touch on that when we get to the purchase,
Okay.
because that's actually where we'll do it through. This doesn't really do anything with the document, it doesn't really convert the document, QuoteWorks or change it. It's basically if you just need to create a PO document, maybe before you send it to your accounting. I know there's some vendors who they won't actually, they need a purchase order before they'll actually place the order, because they want to basically negotiate pricing. Some vendors they won't give you pricing, they'll say it's in this range depending on what day you order. So this is something that you can do to kind of get around that, so you can at least give them a document to get the conversation started before it's actually being placed. Alright. Any other questions about the POs through the layouts? Alright. Last thing I want to touch on is going to be the project number. So we've kind of talked about that before, but when you save your document in QuoteWerks, we have these fields. The document number is assigned automatically, and we don't really recommend changing the document number unless you're going to keep track of all of them. So just let QuoteWerks handle it for you. The bottom field though is the project number. This is useful if you're giving the customer multiple quotes for the same project. And maybe you have different phases or different options. You can use the project number to basically associate different quotes with the same project with different sections of the document or different phases of the project. So if you wanted to assign your own project number, just click on the ellipsis button here, and then you can just change it to enter project number manually, and you can either type in the project number, or you, from the drop down, you can select from an existing project.
And you can make it a name, you know, you have to give it a number.
Exactly, right. And then you can do a search on that project number in QuoteWerks. So if you go to the open window and then go to search, on the more tab here, you can actually do a search on that project number. So you could see, okay, show me all the quotes for this project number, and then it'll show you, hey, you have 2 quotes associated with that project number. And so you can follow up with the customer on these quotes, see what the status is and everything. So that's a really nice way to kind of keep track of multiple quotes with the same customer for the same kind of like project or different phases of the project.
Is there a way to run reports for open projects, open quotes?
Yeah, absolutely. Alright. Okay. So going back to our open window, we kind of touched on this, how to search for documents. There's a couple other different things you can do in the open window as well. Once you've located a document, if it's an existing old document that you want to convert to lost, you can actually right-click on them, and that is an option to convert to lost. So it'll save you some time if you're saying, hey, show me all my quotes for this customer. Okay, these are all lost quotes. Let me go ahead and just go through and convert to lost. I have asked multiple times for the ability to highlight all and convert to lost at once before anyone asks. So I'm sure multiple people would love to do that. It's not there yet. You see it looks like it's there, but it's not there. So
Does it show that they're lost, then after you do that?
you would just do a search by the document status.
Or you just, it doesn't.
Yeah, so if I were to say, okay, show me my lost quotes,
Okay.
just change the status and I'll show you over this. And then you can filter down by, only my quotes and for a specific customer. The other thing I wanted to show you is going to be your shortcut buttons over here. Did you have a question? No? If you click on My Active Quotes, it's going to default to showing you whoever you're logged in as QuoteWerks, your currently open quotes in QuoteWerks. It's going to show you your active quotes. Now, active quotes again in QuoteWerks means that these quotes are not lost, they're not closed, they're not won, they're just set as open. They can be expired. So that's something that can be a little confusing, is that even if the quote is expired, it's technically active in QuoteWerks because the status is set as open. So just keep that in mind anytime you're looking at active quotes here or here, that's what active quotes mean.
If I update the status in QuoteWerks, does it automatically update it in AutoTask for me?
Yes. Yeah, because when you save the quote in QuoteWerks, it'll open up the opportunity window, and then you'll have the chance. It's not going to automatically change the status, but it'll prompt you saying, hey, you want to update this opportunity as well.
Right.
The My Documents will show you all of your documents in QuoteWerks. Doesn't matter if it's a quote, order, if it's lost, open, once, just going to show you all the documents that are assigned to you in QuoteWerks. And My Recent Documents, this will show you any documents that have been modified within the last 30 days. Very useful if you went on vacation for a week and someone was creating quotes on your behalf. Just come in the office, click on Open, do My Recent Documents, and any quotes that have been assigned to you, you'll actually see here, and you can sort by the date as well. So you can see, sort by the last modified date on here to see when the last time a document was changed. All active quotes, all documents, and all recent documents are going to show you all the active quotes in QuoteWerks for all sales reps. These three here are limited by your security settings. So if you do not have access to view another user's quotes, they won't show up here. You'll only be able to see yours or any other user you're able to see. Same thing for all documents. If you're not able to see another user's quotes, not gonna show you all 701 documents, it's only gonna show you whatever documents you're allowed to see. And then all recent documents, just like my recent documents, will show you all the documents that have been modified within the last 30 days, no matter who the sales rep is. Alright. This is also where you can delete individual documents in QuoteWerks. You'll see if you right click on the document, you have the option to delete it here, or you can choose delete here. We do recommend that you essentially lock that down. By default, your new users creating QuoteWerks, unless they have master rights, cannot delete documents. You don't have to worry if you do create a new sales rep specifically turning that off, they won't be able to. But you know, if you do give someone the access to delete documents, make sure they understand that that's permanent. There's not a way to bring it back. If you delete it, it is gone. So just keep that in mind. All right. Any questions about any of that stuff? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the QuoteWerks dashboard. We're going to spend some time here on the dashboard. So on your toolbar up at the top, you'll see there's a dashboard icon. If you click on that, it's going to open up your dashboard. If you're not running QuoteWerks 5.0, you won't see the dashboard button.
I see it. I do it.
Okay, good. So the dashboard is going to display, the first one's going to be the My Summary. The My Summary dashboard is essentially how you're doing this month. It's going to give you information on your quota for this month, what your quota is, if you've exceeded your quota, what your closed $1 amount is. So you're going to see that information here. If you don't see the quota, that's because you haven't set it yet. That's set under Utilities.
That's gross sales, not net sales.
That is correct. Utilities, User Maintenance, edit a user that you want to apply a quota to. Click on the Sales tab, and then this is going to be the monthly sales quota. If you do an annual quota, obviously just take that number divided by 12.
So I have a question for you. There's two parts of the business that we have. We have a project business and a maintenance business. The quota is different for both.
Yeah, it's not.
How do you, you know, this is like almost too straightforward, and it's not normally that way.
Yeah, there's it's a fairly new feature, so that's all there is now. We are looking to expand that and some of the other stuff in the dashboard, but right now, yeah, it's just basically you set the number and that's it.
Okay.
Alright, so once you have your quota set, then this information will show up. You may need to close QuoteWerks and restart it for it to update if you made any changes. This is also going to display kind of how you've done the last 3 months, so essentially a quarter. It's going to show you how many quotes you've created this month, how many last month, and how many 2 months ago. Same thing for how many of those were converted to orders over the last 3 months. The dollar value is not shown by default. This is a security setting in QuoteWerks that we'll go over later. But you can actually, by default, a lot of you probably won't see the dollar values. So you can actually hide and show those on specific users if you don't want them to see how much they've sold, or you know, if that's not something that you want to share.
Is that under user maintenance?
Yes, it is. Your recent documents are going to show you the most recent 9 documents that you've modified. So if you've opened a document, made a change, it's going to show up here under your recent documents. So this is very useful if you were working on a document yesterday, you can't remember the customer name or anything about it. You can come here to your recent documents and you can see that it is hyperlinked, and that'll actually open up the document for you in QuoteWerks.
As a manager, how do I see my employees, their stats?
That's going to be under the Opportunities dashboard. We'll get there.
I'm jumping ahead, sorry.
That's all right. The quotes expiring within 7 days. This is going to show you any quotes that you have that are expiring within the next week. So it's just a nice little reminder. It'll be very similar to this, where you'll see hyperlinked documents, so you can click on them and open them. Follow the customer, see if you can give them the quotes before the quote expires, or maybe even just let the customer know that it's going to expire. And then for the ConnectWise and Autotask users, the notifications here This will display any opportunities that you've created in ConnectWise or AutoTask with a specific status, one that you specified in your setup, that you need to create a quote for that specific opportunity, and there'll be a link there where you can actually click on that link. It'll open up a new quote in QuoteWerks, and it'll pull in any of that information from the opportunity into QuoteWerks. That way you don't have to start from scratch.
Do a report from
You can't report from here. This is again something that we're going to look at expanding, but yeah, as of right now, this is kind of all you can do. Now, the opportunities dashboard, right next to my summary, does provide you with a little more information. This is going to go into a little more detail about kind of like what you did that month. Again, this is user specific. If you want reporting statistics on this information, then we would do it through the management reports. I think we are going to add an option to see like all sales reps kind of here. I just don't know when that's going to happen. This is also specific to your security settings as well. So if you only have access to see Brandon's documents, those are the only ones you can see. If you only have access to see Jen's, those are the only ones you're going to see. So the ones that show up in your dropdown are the only ones you have access to view. The range is going to be, there's quite a few different ranges. By default, I think it shows today, this week, and this month. Again, with the security settings, you can modify that as needed.
Where are those settings?
It's under Utilities, User Maintenance, Edit a User, and then click on the Access tab. I'll walk you through it here in a few minutes because you won't recognize it. It's not dry. So, the forecast for selected period is going to show you all the quotes with a specific status, and when you click on it, it'll actually open up your search window with that status set. So this is showing me all my quotes that have a status of open during that time range of this month. So I have 4 quotes here that have that status. If I go back here and I go to closed, I have 4 quotes that have been closed this month as well. So if you have a different status, if you call it in waiting or on hold or something like that, those will show up here and you'll be able to click on them and actually see all the quotes for that specific status as well. It'll total up your dollar value here and let you know how many quotes you have as well, and also show you your conversion rate at this point when you're looking at this. The top 5 closed /1 in the period. This is going to display your top 5 grossing documents in QuoteWorks for that specific date range. So in this case, it's this month. So if I click on here, this would actually open up this document in QuoteWorks so I can view it. And this is because it's been converted to an order. So it's set as closed or won in QuoteWorks for the status. If you're using a different status for your closed or won, it's not going to show up there. It's only if you actually set it as closed or won.
Brandon?
I got for that to show up in the opportunities, you actually have to close it in QuoteWorks. You can't, like I normally just export it over to QuickBooks, but to make it show up on this page, you have to close it in QuoteWorks.
That's correct, yeah.
The exporting doesn't.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Or converting to an invoice doesn't do it.
Yeah, if you basically, this is working on the statuses of your documents. So if your status of your documents never changes, you're not going to see any of this information. So yeah, when you convert to order, then it'll update it and convert it to an invoice. That should work.
Well, export is not a status that it recognizes.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. Does exported get viewed as closed?
No, it changes the status to exported.
Right, which
Yeah.
is what we have.
Now you could change that status in your setup. You can have that status read closed instead. If you wanted
Where
to.
would you do that,
Oh,
Brandon?
yeah, I want to do
Are you using QuickBooks?
Yes.
Click on. Do you have QuickBooks open?
Yes, I do.
Click on the QuickBooks icon, and then click on the setup. In the bottom left corner of that window, click on setup. And then click on the QuoteWorks tab. I'm doing this from memory, so I'm off by a little bit. Click on the QuoteWorks tab.
It's loading.
And then there should be an option to change the status where it says set status when exported to, and there should be a drop down.
So we just change it, go here, As long as it's not open.
When exporters say to,
Yeah. To open,
To close.
close.
If that's not an option, then you'll have to add it to
I
your
can't see.
statuses.
I know, equal to.
your
I think
quick
that works.
No, to your QuoteWerks statuses. So if you go to your tools options and you go to your installation, you'll go to.
Well, I think what I really want to do
I've never tried that before, so I don't really know where it's reading from.
make it
So what's the
equal to-
difference between that
Everyone has to equal to
opportunity
export it.
dashboard and someone who's got like a contact management
Well, I know,
software?
it's,
There is one.
I
Right?
think this is.
Would you normally,
Alter.
like you have ag for Salesforce or Goldmine, would you ever use this?
You might, I don't know, a lot of times this is just kind of like a snapshot, kind of let you know how people are doing. With a lot of the CRMs, you actually have to run a physical report. So just, depending on how complicated it is, it might be easier just to come here and click on opportunities and say, hey, let me see how, John's doing this month, and say, okay, his numbers look good, or, okay, he's been slacking, so it looks terrible. It can just kind of give you an idea.
so we just,
But definitely the two are never gonna be the same, especially if we leave exported as exported and don't change it or closed.
Right.
we just went to where you set up your installation and added the close, or where it says converted to invoice, so now when she converts it, it's gonna automatically close that for us.
Well, it's just gonna change the status. You'll have to,
Status,
yes.
that's what I say, close.
Yeah.
But do I still have to go into that setup?
Yeah.
So this is just now making it an option, and then now I need to go to setup.
Right, and I just went straight in and it had it right there. It said after export, change status to closed.
Okay.
So in version 5, whatever the latest version is, it's right there.
Your top 5 open quotes during this date range will also be set for you as well. So if you want to see, if you're waiting on a quote to close, or it's the end of the month and you want to follow up on kind of the larger ones, you can see a list of those here, and you can click on it and actually open up that document in QuoteWerks for you. Top 5 lost opportunities. If you converted a quote to lost, so if you remember we went to the file, convert to lost, that'll also convert it to, or show up here for that date range. So if you want to follow up or just go back a month and follow up with any lost opportunities, that's a good way to do that. This is also going to display your top 5 products won in a specific time frame. So in this case, this particular item has sold the most quantity of the item. And if you click on it, this will actually bring us to our open window again, and it will show us the documents that it was sold in. And you can see it's looking by part number, and it'll show me that those 2 documents have sold the most of those items. And same thing by dollar amount. So this one had, by dollar amount, we sold the most of this one, and even though we only sold 2 of them. So this one's by quantity, this one's by actual dollar. The quota for selected period is just going to show you the same thing as the summary, but it will change with the date. So if you change the date range, it'll say that. And then you'll have your summary here. So if you want to see, in this case, our third quarter, you can see that. If you want to see how we did the second quarter, we can see that. We can see how the first quarter, and we can even just see how you're kind of doing for the year as well. Any questions about the opportunities dashboard?
How do I see my other employees?
Just click on the drop down.
And they'll just be listed?
Yeah, like I said, I'm working on development to add it all, so it'll do all employees at once. So you can see how that, right now, that's not available, you have to do it manually.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the dashboards?
Well, I click on, I'm going to my corporate site where I have this, I'm kind of going back and forth, and I click on the 5 products one, and it just shows nothing in the report. So it's like, it shows an item, like the top 5 items, but they don't have, I don't know where it's pulling them from, it's not finding them.
On the next break, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm just curious what it's all about, thank you.
Yeah. Alright, so the next dashboard is going to be the Quote Valet dashboard. So if you don't have Quote Valet, this obviously won't affect you. But you can also get to the Quote Valley dashboard directly by clicking on the Quote Valley icon on your toolbar. So the Quote Valley dashboard is made up of 3 separate sub-tabs. You have your inbox, which is basically kind of like your living, breathing notifications in Quote Valley. This is telling you what your customers are actively doing. So when a customer looks at a document for the first time, if they look at it for the 50th time, if they post a comment, if they look at the PDF, you're going to receive a notification here in your inbox. The inbox is designed to basically dismiss these activities after you've viewed what's going on. So after you say, okay, my customer viewed my quote, I can go ahead and dismiss it. Yeah, we can dismiss that one. This customer accepted it, so I need to follow up with the payment information so they can make payment. Then once you've done that, you can dismiss it from your inbox. So the inbox is supposed to be kind of like your living, breathing, just up-to-date notifications about what your customer is doing in QuoteWerks through Quote Valley. When you highlight a notification, you'll see all the activity that the customer has moved so far. So we can see customer changed an option, that was revised by the sales rep, and then the customer accepted the quote. So you can see all that information from the notifications, and then like I said, once you're done with it, you can dismiss it. The orange color means that the document has been accepted by the customer but not paid. Green means the customer has accepted and paid. If it's white, there's no color, which I don't have any. Then that just means the customer has just viewed it, or they changed an option or something like that, and they haven't accepted or paid it.
That's an option that goes out in an email if you had this Quote Valley.
We do send some email notifications
How
for
do you know if they've accepted it?
You'll get an email. Yeah, so we send out email notifications for the major notifications. So when a customer views the document for the first time, if they post a comment, if they accept it, and if they make payment, you'll receive email notifications as well as inbox notification. The only time we really don't send an email is if a customer's looked at the quote for the 30th time, because we don't want to send you 30 emails saying, hey, customer reviewed the quote, you get it, they viewed it, you know that. So we'll post a notification here for you just to let you know, but we're not going to spam or email box with that information. Again, you can look at other users. Again, this is going to be limited by your security settings in QuoteWerks and who you're allowed to use documents. The reporting tab is going to let you kind of see a specific filter for documents in QuoteWerks and kind of what's going on with those specific activity. So here you can actually specify the activity under the what dropdown. So you can see customer activity, any activity, which would be your activity as well. I use this specifically for looking at like expiring quotes. Say, hey, okay, show me all my expired quotes or my expiring quotes this month. And then it shows you a list of, actually let's do last one, so it shows close. So this shows me a list of my quotes that expired last month. So I can right click on it and open the document in QuoteWerks and maybe follow up with this specific customer. Or what I used to do was when my quotes were going to be expiring the next week, I'd open up the quotes and then I had an email template that I used, and I'd actually send out an email reminder to my customer saying, hey, quote's about to expire in a week or next week. Here's the link to purchase. So you can use this kind of reporting to kind of see specific types of Quote Valley documents in QuoteWorks. And then like I said, you can right click to view the customer facing page or view the sales rep facing page if you want to like post a comment. So that sends an email to them and then post a comment on the Quote Valley page as well.
So after we upload to Quote Valley and we go back to go print it, it doesn't give us the option for all of the original estimate templates that we use. These two other options come up and it's not that kind of the Aspire generic template. So do I have to clone one of our templates and put it, like I just don't know where that comes from, so I can, so it doesn't come up like that, because when we go to print it after the fact, after it's been uploaded and
But we just
accepted, we'll print it on like the generic text.
What it's doing is once the quote has been accepted, QuoteWorks is automatically converting that quote to an order. So what you're seeing are just the order layouts. When you click on the deliver, if you check the checkbox that says display all layout types.
Right, and I can clone it to that order layout. Okay.
Yeah. Because when it converts the quote to an order, whatever we're showing, if we're showing an order document, then it's only gonna show you the orders that we have.
Automatic.
Well, I just
So
don't
just
know.
do display all layout types and use the site manager.
Right, that would make it a lot easier to be honest.
I can have somebody create a spreadsheet.
Any questions about the reporting tab?
That's actually it. Pretty sure this
Payments, if you accept payments via credit card, these will be displayed here on the payments tab. Once you open an accepted quote that's been received, or has payment's been made, we'll pull a payment into QuoteWerks as well. The payments can be sent to QuickBooks. So when you're exporting your document from QuoteWorks to QuickBooks, you can actually send the payment over as well if you're accepting credit cards. We do work with about 80 different payment gateways. So if you're using Intuit or Authorize.net or First Data, really any of the major ones, will be able to accept credit card payments. Quote Valley doesn't take a cut of your payment gateway. So you just basically put in your credentials and we integrate with it and that's it.
test or
Any questions about any of the dashboard information? Alright, so let's go ahead and go into the email features. So there's a couple things that I want to show you guys. A lot of people don't know that you can actually customize the email templates in QuoteWerks. So we're going to go ahead and kind of talk about that. So under your tools menu, if you look, you're going to see an option that says customize email templates. This is going to show you an entire list of all the templates that have been created in QuoteWerks. Now by default, it's going to default to your logged in user, but if you click on the drop down and you choose system, this will show you the default layout or the default email templates that QuoteWerks uses for every type of email that we populate. So you'll see there's an email approved notification, so this means that your quote has been approved by management. If you're attaching a file, an escalated approval request, an invoice, linked file, management report, order, PO, quote, all those are here.
How did you get there?
Yep, we're going to go to Tools,
Tools? Okay.
Customize Email Templates,
Okay.
and then once you get there, it'll default to your username and show you any email templates that you've created. If you want to see what's used by default, click on the System tab.
Okay.
Now, I would recommend, before making any changes to any of your templates, that you go ahead and highlight the one that you want to make changes to and click on the little C button here. This is going to clone it. And the reason that you clone it is that if for some reason you change something or delete something, you still have the original in the software. So I'm going to go ahead and clone it, and typically you're going to select the owner as a clone template, typically yourself, and you'll hit OK. And if we go to my user,
Okay, so go back to the one where it says, you can view your estimate accepted. Where it's the little blue, what says here. The issue that we were running into is we had that in our estimate template, but every time it would link it to the same person's estimate that original link was made from. So what we have to do now is every single time somebody creates an estimate and then they go to email it, they have to copy that link and paste it into their email template that they want to use.
okay.
So how do we get around that? Because they have to do this multiple times a day, every single day, with all of the emails that they send out.
So what probably happened is someone put in a URL in this link here. So what you're actually going to do, it's going to be a macro that you're going to put in, and I'll show you how to find it. So first thing we're going to do is click here, and you'll see this is the macro that you should be using. So when you need to go to that email template,
Like that original basic.
yeah, go to the one where you're having to copy and paste, and see if you can find this macro. And if it's not in there, that's the issue. If it is in there, which I can't imagine that it is, then call it a support and have them look at it. But
What did you go to there again? I'm there.
And then, okay,
yep, and just click on
the
the
little globe with the.
little link. and then you'll see what's in there, and it's probably a specific URL rather than the macro.
Okay.
Is that the macro right there?
That is the macro, yeah.
All right.
Anyone highlighting so we can see those guys?
Where's the generic one? Right, because from the quote Valeria goes up, she copies that link. Do you see what I'm saying?
So let's say we wanted to, in this one, we wanted to say clicking here and make that. So what I would recommend doing is the easiest thing, because you're not going to have that macro, is you need to find that macro first.
Okay.
And it's going to be, I copied it,
Oh my
so I cheated. But this is the one that you're going to want. So it's going to be the ampersand,
Okay, I'm
DH.
gonna write all that down. See. Well, it doesn't send it as an attachment.
Now, if you're using Quote Valley, it'll be a link.
If you don't use it, it would be.
An attachment.
So then we can copy that generic macro and that line to all of our estimate templates, so whichever estimate template pops up, it'll pull up whatever current, like, was whatever was just uploaded.
Email template, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah, so then basically you just link it, just like a regular link, and then it'll just populate, you'll see it already highlighted for you. And then it'll just insert that field, move it forward. And then very important, make sure you save your changes.
Yes.
Because if you do switch to a different template without saving it, it is not going to remember it, so just make sure you save it. Same thing with the subject. The subject is going to be set here, so you can change the subject as well. So that's just one of them. Like I said, all of them are available to be changed. Like I said, I recommend just cloning them. One other thing I wanted to mention is that when you do set a email template, when you do this one here, there's going to be a checkbox that says what do you want to include in the list of available templates when emailing. You want to choose what you want it to be in there for. So you can actually specify when you're sending an order document, only this certain type of email template's available. If you're sending a PO document, only this type of email is available. That's what these little checkboxes are that say include in this available templates when email.
Got it, that makes sense.
Typically, the easiest is you can just do anything
Okay.
and it'll always be available. But if you want to get fancy and specify saying, hey, only when we're sending quotes is this template available, only when we're sending orders this template's available.
Okay.
That's what these checkboxes down here are for.
So that's specific for each individual email.
If you don't specify it, then I think by default it shows up only for your user under anything. And then if you go to system, you'll see that you can't modify them because they're by default
Got it, okay.
set. And if you clone from the system, they're automatically going to be available as well. So if you go to your user, so I think I cloned this one, yeah, clone this one, it's automatically saying it's a system email template. So you can see there it's a system email. So it's automatically going to show up. And if I created a new one, then I need to specify. I have to just keep that in mind. So if you see it's grayed out like that, that means that it's automatically included. If it gives you the option, then you can specify.
We send through Outlook, this template right into what comes up in our Outlook.
Yes, correct.
Brandon, have you customized your color screen, or are the little pit dots over name different color for a reason on your screen and not on ours?
These three right here?
Yeah, because mine's blue, purple, blue. I didn't know if that's a systems administrator rights kind of thing, or?
Might just be a color scheme issue.
Just check.
Yeah, basically the gold button is to create a new template,
Mine are
start from
gray.
scratch.
Purple.
Purple is going to start it's gonna clone the selected one, and then the red will delete it.
Yeah,
But-
that's why I was like,
In the office, they're that color.
That's very strange, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, but it's this color.
So in case you have different colors, the star button is gonna create a new template, the C button will clone it, and the X button will kill it. When you create a template, if you want it to be available for all users, there's gonna be an option to make it public. So if I go to system here, and let's go to my user. Let's go to this one, and we're gonna clone this one, and it says select owner for clone template. I can set it as public, and then everyone would have access to it, not just my specific user in QuoteWerks. When you clone it or create a new one, it'll ask you who you want to select the owner for the clone.
and the signature becomes that person, whoever's sending the email, not.
Correct, yeah, that's, again, that's why we use the macros, so that's the signature acting will be of whoever the sales rep is.
Show us again how to clone.
Sure. So just highlight the email template you want to make a copy of, and then click on the clone button, and then it'll basically say
Is that the
who you want to
middle
set the owner as. If you want to share it among multiple users, you can do that. If you have master rights, you're going to be able to see these anyway, but it's just easier if you want to share it to do public.
Now, if we wanted to make an internal smart book with a view of all of these choices, is there a way to either do well, I guess you could print screen and print them out, but there's no way to just do a print preview of this as a dummy template?
No, there's no. You're talking about this actual email template manager screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, your best bet would be to just print screen it.
Yeah.
Alright, so when you create a new email template, and you go to your email window,
We keep going. That way we have it.
You're never saying the same thing. You know what I mean?
this is how you select your different template up at the top right. So this is gonna show your template, and mine's the default one. So if I upload this one to QuoteLA, you can have different ones for QuoteLA as well. So you can see this one is my default. You can have a different one. You can have, see from the drop down, you can select a different template. So that's how you'll select them, is just by clicking on the template drop down. Last thing in the email templates, we have what we call snippets. Snippets are if you have some type of text that maybe you include with all of your emails, maybe some type of boilerplate information, something that could change on a fairly regular basis, but it goes out with every email. You can create a snippet so that when you update that information, it updates across all your email templates instead of having to say, okay, let me go to this email template and update the information here. All right, let me go to this one and update this one, and this one, and having to do it once. You basically use this snippet instead. Does anyone have any specific questions about that? Is that something that you would use, or? It's really only going to apply if you have information in your email templates that you need to update on a regular basis. If you don't, then it's not really going to apply.
Like if we were gonna be out of the office for a week, if we're sending out estimates that week, we could put something like that in there, so as people, when they try to call us in a week, will know that we would be available, like something like that.
You could do that.
Right?
Yeah. But you probably just make a new email template that would say that you're going to be out. But yeah, that would be an option that you could use a snippet for that. There's not really there's no specific way to use it. It can be used for really however you want. It's just basically lets you update information in one spot instead of having to do it across every email template.
How would that work if you wanted to just put in, you just select some wording that you want to change?
And then basically it's assigned a macro, and then when you go to insert macro, there's a snippet macro. It's like public snippet, and then you give the snippet a name, and you put in the name.
So it's kind of like a PS that falls at the bottom of the email?
It could be.
Or you can pick where you want it to be?
Exactly, you can where you want it to be. It's just, it's essentially, it's almost like a customized macro, essentially. Saying, hey, this is text, you know, maybe you have terms and conditions in your email instead of your quote. And then your terms and conditions change on a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis, so you have it as a snippet, and you just change it in snippet, and across all your email templates that use that snippet across pages. Just kind of a time-saving thing. Alright, okay, I think we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, so you guys can get some coffee and the restroom and all that kind of stuff.